And here we go. Welcome everyone to Celtics Postgame Live, featuring your host Ben Cruz for tonight. And dare I say, uh, you know, the Celtics were down 3-0 in this series to the Miami Heat. I had a lot of doubts. I didn't know where things would go from here. And I wasn't actually on the last post-game show. I wasn't able to really do one for Game 4. I've been feeling a little achy the last couple of days, but still feeling it, so bear with me. But I want to make sure I come on here and give my overall thoughts on the Celtics overall game and if they still have life. So before we get started, I obviously want to make sure that you guys tune in for the other shows that we offer. Kick in with Cruz, obviously, is my show, but really it's going to be only the post-game show tonight just because, like I said, I've been feeling a little off the last couple of days, but I want to make sure I get the stuff for you guys. And obviously we do Batter Up as well as Sports Weekly with Isaiah Leon and Loro. So I'll make sure to follow that stuff as well throughout the week. And like I said, pretty much we'll go through probably about 45 minutes to an hour max. All the stuff Celtics of the Game 5 against the Miami Heat tonight. And now we're obviously going to kind of go through in terms of where things go from here. So without further ado, I'll see specifically if any guests coming on during the program tonight. If not, I'll ride solo, and that's okay with me, just because, it is what it is. And so, yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to jot down in the comments section, always as usual. And I would love to answer them once the show is concluded. But without further ado, let's kind of get into it and kind of see how things, have started to turn around for the Celtics team. Like I said, I had a lot of doubts. I had a ton of doubts after Game 3. The Celtics were absolutely blown out. People wanted the series to be over. Missoula, people wanted to start, getting criticism for it. And by all means, he was, having a lot of criticism on his hands. And I think specifically it was all about the players. Did the players want to respond and get back in the series, or do they want to quit? And with the Celtics all season long, they've been a better team with the backs against the wall. And yes, I said I had my doubts. Being down 3-0 looked like Miami had everything going for them. They were hitting down shots. Duncan Robinson, Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, you name it. But Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo were doing their thing. And I thought to myself specifically, Miami's a great team. They're a great team for a reason, and they're going to still be a very good team for the rest of the series. But the Celtics can also be a good team themselves. And personally for myself, I thought the Celtics, after being down 3-0, I'm like, okay, is it time to regroup, or do you guys just want to go home? And I didn't want to go home. I said that on an overall video before Game 4. I didn't want to go home, but you had to go to Game 4 in Miami. And then if you win that one, anything's possible. You go back to Game 5. Yes, the Celtics haven't been great at home a lot of this postseason, but I thought to myself, you take Game 4, you go to Game 5, and if you win Game 5, anything's possible, right? Then you go to now 3-2. Yeah, you're still down the series. You still need 2 more to go. But now the pressure's starting to turn to Miami, right? A lot of the players are starting to kind of look at each other like, man, we were up 3-0. Where are things kind of gone from here? And I think specifically, I'll get into Game 6 after my Game 5 recap, is kind of let's just lock in. Let's just finish this job. Because I remember the Celtics last year against the Miami Heat. The Celtics were in a similar position last year where they were up 3-1 in this series. And then game 6 happened. And Jimmy Butler went into TD Garden. And I thought to myself, yep, this is it. We're ready to go on to the finals and things go from here. And Jimmy Butler's like, not so fast, my guy. And I went to game 7. And I thought to myself, well, it's anyone's game now. Now you're going to game 7. You're going to Miami. And you potentially now have the pressure. And the Celtics were able to come out on top. As I might be having one of my co-hosts come on in just a little bit. So we'll see where things go from here. But, Miami last year, they went to game 7 with us after the Celtics were up 3-1. We're like, I'm thought to myself last season, I said in this series, I said, how are we here? How is this possible? And then the Celtics in game 7, with about 3 minutes left, looked like they were ready to go to the finals. Up like 9-10 points, 3 minutes left, just had to just be smart. And the Celtics weren't smart. They essentially were about 10 seconds away from going to the finals last season to going home in the most utter disastrous way possible after being up 3-1 in this series. So Miami essentially looking at this as a way of, wow, now this is a series. As I'm about to get my co-host in here, James Gonzalez. James, I appreciate it, my guy. Like I said, I've been a little under the weather the last couple of days, a little achy, but obviously I'm feeling a little bit upbeat. Remember after game 3, I thought to myself, when is this season going to be over with? I'm just ready to call it quits. It doesn't seem like we have it right now. And about 3-4 days later, now I'm here talking about we have a series. We really, truly have a series. So before we get into all that, James, I just want to just ask you quickly, how are things going? And by the way, you swept us, by the way, with Angels. I don't know what happened there. That was quite underwhelming, to say the least. But you guys definitely played them better as a better team this whole series. So I bet you're feeling good about that too.
Somewhat. I just know that, hey, maybe we got the right pitchers to face in your rotation. I know I would have loved to face Kluber. But San Diego
Yeah.
But I thought Balo was going to be better and then the others. But there was one game, though, that there was a good start. I think a lot of the Angels' young guns did very well. And then Ohtani and Trout finally, powered up. So it's an odd thing to say, oh, yeah, the Angels swept someone. They went to St. Louis and did it when St. Louis was bad. So now St. Louis is doing well. So I guess it's all about, playing someone at the right time. That's all it is, basically, for the Angels. Because you take a look at our season series, you guys took 3. I felt like we should have at least took 3 out of 4 in Boston. But Boston at that time was playing
well. It was a series in April, actually. So
right.
It was at 2 of the games, so I should have known.
I just the way that team was set up, I thought, man, we should at least take 3 out of 4 in Boston. But to only get 1 was explaining how bad we were. But yeah, that's great and all. But man, I'm just I'm blown away by Boston the last 2 games. I think they've woken up in a way. And I didn't know if you want to give my take about the game now, but you could just tell this series, it literally has flip flopped. The attention to detail, the momentum, it's all Boston now. Like they say, oh, only 3 teams have forced a game 7. And what was it? 7 forced to game 6 or something like that.
There was a stat on the game today.
Yeah,
I think it was like 44 go to like game 5. I think it was like 11 go to like
11.
6.
Yeah,
and we're one of the latest teams to go to a game 6 after being down 3-0. So, a lot to be left with. But James, obviously, I'll get into your thoughts in just a little bit. But before you came on air, I was just talking to myself on this is kind of a flip-flop in a way series. If you remember from last year with the Celtics and Heat, the Celtics were up actually 3-1, if you remember, in this series against the Heat last year. And pretty much we were just like, all right, let's get ready to play Golden State in the finals. It's ready to go. But then you look at Miami. I remember I think Miami was the 1 seed last year. It's crazy because they had a lot of pretty much a lot of the same players as last year's team. But the Heat just had such an underwhelming regular season, so they were in that position in terms of where they are, which I don't think they're an 8 seed. I know they say it's an 8 seed, but I feel like they're more like a 4 or 5 seed the more
No doubt.
series. But you look at it, the Celtics were up 3-1 that series, and then they kind of put their foot out the gas over in Game 6. It was at TD Garden, and Jimmy Buckets came to TD Garden and came for an upset. So I thought to myself, well, it's 3-2, but man, now you're playing with house money. Now you have to go to Game 7, Game 7. It got to tied. It got to tied, I believe, and anything was possible. And then the Celtics were up 10 with about 3 minutes left. I thought to myself, here we go. I'm just sweating it off. I'm like, just finish it off. And the Celtics all this past season, they couldn't do it. And then just like, Marcus Smart started to turn the ball over. I'm like, no, this can't happen. You're up 3-1 this series, and you're about to do this to me. And it was legitimately this close if Jimmy Buckets came with it. I legitimately was about to turn the TV off. I'm just like, that stuff's going to go in the way things are going. And we're going to instead go to the finals. Instead, myself being utter disappointment and shock. But we somehow survived. But now the Heat are the Heat are pretty much in the same position right now as the Celtics, how they felt last year. The Heat they're feeling more pressure than ever because they were up 3-0 in the series, and they blew us out in Game 3. They're like, oh boy, the Celtics are ready to look dead. They look ready to go home. Let's just finish it over in Miami. Well, the Celtics were able to finish it off they're down 9 in Game 4. I won't get too much into Game 4 because obviously really it's about Game 5 tonight. But Game 4, the Celtics are down 9, and they got some key buckets from guys like Al Horford, Grant Williams, Derek. Nice to meet you guys, by the way, after not being a no-show the first couple games. Mm-hmm. But they're starting to get things going. And by the way, welcome to the series, Jaylen Brown. After the disaster he was had, I think there was potential some type of injury he might have suffered potentially in the early part of the series that was really kind of laboring him. But Jason Tatum rolling that fourth quarter of Game 4 was a big reason why the Celtics were able to force a Game 5. Now you go to Game 5, and Miami's like, well, it's 3-1. They still have to figure it out. I thought to myself this morning, I said, I remember if you saw Marcus Smart before Game 4, he's like, don't let us win one, right? Marcus Smart said before, he said, don't let us win one. And essentially, I thought to myself in a text chain with one of my Heat fans, I said, don't let us win again tonight because now it's a series, right? We're still going to be down, but now it's a series. And, tonight, obviously, I still had a lot of doubts. We haven't been playing great at home, but I'm like, if there's ever a time to play with house money with back against the walls, tonight's the night. And I thought to myself, well, we lost 2 games in Boston to Miami and Boston. I'm like, there has to be no way. We finished off the season at home, and they're racing the finals bound Eastern Conference Champion trophy in our house. I thought to myself, there's no way. Don't let this happen. And, now we'll get to overall quickly the 98.5 call of early part in this game from Sean Grandy. Give it a listen. I don't know if you got to hear it, James, but
I didn't hear it.
Okay. Well, that was a call from 98.5, the Sports Hub. Sean Grandy does a great job. I'll send you the clip probably after this is over. But right from the get-go in this game, and James, now we'll be able to get you overall reaction because now we're going to kind of get back and really into this game. Cue the song, Staying Alive, Staying Alive. The Celtics are still alive. The Celtics tonight got a 110-97 win over the Miami Heat. They're still down 3-2 in this series. Yes, they still have a long way to go. But now, James, like I said, right when you came on here, we have a series. After it felt like early on the series that we looked dead, we looked like we were out of it. But I got to give a couple of guys some credit. And I got to give Joe Mazzulla a ton of credit because I had a lot of self-doubts in Joe Mazzulla. I wanted him gone. I was ready for him to be gone. And, man, he's starting to turn things around. I'll tell you in terms of what's going on that I've seen adjustments with. But it was right from that first play in the game. It was a loose ball from Marcus Smart. And Marcus Smart gave it right to Tatum, right for the basket, up 2-0. The Celtics, early part of the first quarter, were fantastic. Outside shots started to fall. I'm like, maybe just our night. Because typically when our starts are falling from the outside specifically, we usually have a pretty good night. Usually when we're about 45% from 3-point line, typically for more than not, we typically are in great shape. We saw it in terms of all year. But I knew for myself, specifically in terms of what's going to happen, Miami was not going to go down without a fight. They've been really grinding type of team regardless. They've been a comeback type of team like crazy in this whole entire playoffs. So I knew it was going to be far from over. So Marcus had a great set of the tone with that loose ball, got it to Tatum. It was early 15-5 lead. Specifically the biggest thing, James, the Celtics defense, for the first time, I felt like most of the series was able to contain the two superstars on the Miami Heat, and that's Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. Jimmy Butler had 14 points in 34 minutes, by the way. Bam Adebayo had 16 points. He did kind of get a little bit going in the third quarter, but for the most part, specifically, James, the Celtics as a whole, the big reason why that they were able to win this game, the turnovers. Miami had 16 turnovers to our 9 turnovers, and the Celtics played great from defense to offense, and that's what I saw. Tonight was a statement overall type of game for the Celtics because, if they won by, a couple baskets, you're able to get away with it. You're like, okay, they still have a long way to go. They pulled it out, but the Celtics played like they played tonight. Now Miami's looking at this game in terms of, the Boston Celtics are punching back. You look at a boxing match as a whole, right? Typically, somebody's just punching you right to the max, but the guy essentially is just kind of like shaking there. He's just like, I still have a little blood. I want to get up. And, in game 4, it felt like, the guy was starting to get up a little bit. Now you're starting to feel like you're getting all the way up and kind of ready to fight back. And the Celtics did that tonight. They're essentially, they're not ready to go down without a fight, backs against the wall. And Steven, our buddy off the air, was saying that the Celtics play the best against all adversity. And he was right. He was right because like I said, I have my self-doubts. Even as a Celtics fan myself, I was able to believe. Now they're starting to pull me back in. The life of a Celtics fan, when they start pulling me out, they pull me right back in. And, tonight was a great overall performance from the Celtics. The Celtics as well, 3-pointers are 16-39. Miami's was 9-23. One of the biggest losses, James, before the game, Gabe Vincent was ruled out. And Gabe Vincent has been one of their key contributors both defensively and behind the arc. And the Celtics did a really good job against Kyle Lowry. Came in. I wasn't really high on Kyle Lowry, but Kyle Lowry's had big games against us in the past with Toronto. So, tonight, Lowry had, 5 points in 30 minutes. So, we did a really good job against Lowry. None of the Miami scorers had pretty much all less than 20 points in this game. So the defense as a whole was fantastic. The highest score actually tonight was Duncan Robinson. So I think if Duncan Robinson has the highest amount of points, I think you're doing pretty good as a whole. And then you look at steals. The Celtics had 13 steals to 6. So all the terms of turnovers the Celtics had, they were causing steals into offense. This is the way the Celtics should be playing going to Game 6. Keep the pedal to the metal and keep the same mindset and intensity. And James, like I said, I'll get to you game 5, but this was by far the best overall play that the Celtics have played since Game 7 against the Philadelphia 76ers. That felt like a Game 7 against Philly where they made a lot of shots early, the defense was able to intensify, and they kept the foot to the pedal to the metal. And another thing, James, too, Joe Mazzulla is starting to figure it out. You're seeing that the Miami have some runs, right? And, early on this series, it'd be like, all right, 15-0 run Miami has, and now it's gone from a 15-point lead to a 2-point lead. Oh, yeah, by the way, we'll take a timeout. Now I saw tonight, the Celtics were within 18 at times. They went up to like 23, I think the high. And a couple times, Miami would have a run here and there. Boom, right away. That's how you should be doing it because not only it's a good confidence booster for Mazzulla, but it's a good confidence booster for the overall team. Because the team as a whole, sometimes you look at it, you're like, okay, we got to essentially look at our coach and see where things are going from here. And that's where Eric Spoelstra was doing really good against. Maybe Joe looked at the other side and looked like, maybe I should take some notes here because it's clearly been working. Every single time that Miami had a punch in them, the Celtics punched right back. And that's what they have to do in order to make this potentially a Game 7. I won't get too far ahead, but at least get to game 6 and they play that the way you want to play, you still win in game 6. I'm telling you, Heat fans right here, do not let us win game 6. You just don't let it happen. Just don't let it happen. That's all I'm going to say. All right, I'll take it to you, James. What's your overall thoughts on the Celtics win tonight against the Miami Heat? Now taking it go down to 3-2. And do you feel like specifically, James, that the Celtics can pull the improbable?
First part, just talking about the game. It started right away. They got on a great run, making their 3-pointers. Smart was awesome tonight with the 3-pointers early. Everything was falling in from the corner. That was great to see because there were some games he didn't really show up offensively. And then defensively, they really showed up. I mean, Derek White was getting involved in the turnovers. I think Miami had 10 turnovers by halftime in the first half, I want to say, and that's rare. You see that for a Miami team like that. You don't see that. And Celtics, they played great defense there. You mentioned the Miami's totals. Whenever Duncan Robinson is the highest point getter, that's a really good thing because you put a blanket over Butler. You somehow out-rebound and out-toughed Bam Adebayo. So that was really good. Because like we saw in the first 2 games, excuse me, and in especially game 1, Bam was just taking over the key there on offensive rebounding side. He was all over.
A little bit about Bam after you say it. Something about Bam specifically that I could see throughout last series that's starting to go into this series. And I'll let you know after what you're about to say. Sorry.
No, that's good. Max Strus, it was good. He only had 1 3. Usually he's key on their 3-pointers, but he was off tonight. So that was a great key for the Celtics to stop that. That was awesome. Again, when you hold Jimmy Butler under 20, that's really good. Mm-hmm. But with Boston, man, it was a hands-on effort by everyone, all the star players. Although Brogdon didn't really get anything going, but he's hampered by the is it a left arm or right arm injury?
I believe it's the right because the right is typically the one that he shoots with. He actually left the game early tonight. It's one of those things where I just think for the last couple of games, he's just not been himself. If Malcolm Brogdon at least can give us something, it'll be a massive positive. But at this point in time, White and Smart have been really just carrying the load right now. And I love Malcolm, but I'll get into the rest of it. I had to leave the game early. They actually brought in Pritchett for a little bit. He had 1 steal, I fear, for the guy. And Joe's like, yep, we're taking you out. So Joe's not playing any games anymore, which I like to see.
Yeah, Brogdon only played 8 minutes, so at least he could be a decoy going forward if that's the case. Maybe. Just spot him up in the corner or somehow have him drive and kick with a one-handed, left-handed pass, but that's dangerous. But, I know a lot of eyes were on Jaylen Brown and how he would do. Tatum and Brown only had 21 each, but that was fine because Derek White finally had a game you can talk about with 24. Smart with 23. Like I mentioned, he was great offensively. So going forward now, again, this feels like this series has just turned over. Like that hourglass, it just turned over now to, okay, the time is ticking for Miami. And if you let the Celtics go down to Miami and win, I have a feeling, and maybe this will be just like it was about time for this to happen in the playoffs, that somebody come back from 3-0 and win the series. It was bound to happen.
James, Boston is known for some comebacks in them. You know what I'm saying?
I was just about to mention,
don't let us hang around.
They always talk about the 3-0 lead that the Yankees had in the 04 ALCS.
28-3, Patriots, Falcons. It's something about it right now. And
there's always
go ahead.
I'm sorry. There's always something like that going on where it's just bound to happen. Like a record is bound to be broken. So I know the second part of your question was like, hey, can they do it? Can they do it going forward? If they continue to do this and Miami continues to be lost, which they look like they don't have a clue what they're doing. It's like a role reversal in this series. I feel like they're going to do it. I feel like they're going to come back from 3-0 and win the series. But it's amazing, though. This whole playoffs for the Celtics has been crazy when you think about it. They somehow let the Hawks play into 6 games in that series.
Yeah.
I remember the doom and gloom Boston felt when after Game 5 in the Philadelphia series.
No.
Where it's like, oh crap, it's over. There's no way we're going to win in Philly playing the way that the Celtics are playing. Well, somehow they had a great fourth quarter and they were able to.
Tatum actually showed up. I still remember that. Tatum in the first 3 quarters was absolutely invisible. He couldn't knock down a single thing. And if it wasn't for that, we would not be here. Let's just say that right now. We would not be here. And then you go to Game 7. That's the thing about right now with the Game 6s, James. I say do not let us win this game because the Celtics in the past, whether it's Game 6 in Philly, winning at Game 7 in Boston, Game 6 in Milwaukee last year, we had to win going to Boston. We won both of those. And I feel like there was another time that happened specifically. But Game 6s, when it comes down late in games, Jason Tatum. Like I said, James, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, only 21 points tonight. But tonight was really more of a balanced effort, which I think at times is great because you look at it, the Celtics just need to have a really good overall response in terms of getting back in themselves in the series. And I looked at this game for a second and I said, man, this reminds me of the good Celtics. This reminds me of it. Now, can they do this again? Because I felt in Game 4, they're like, okay, we kind of, we had the 18-0 run and Miami just really couldn't kind of get themselves back doing it. We'll take it. Let's go to Game 5 and see what happens because, Game 4, obviously, you're still down 3-1. It's really still Miami's favor. Now, you go to Game 5, and the Celtics really take it, they really take it to them. So now Spoelstra and the guys looking at each other, they're just like, how are we getting to here? We should already be ready to go to Denver right now. We should be Nuggets right now. And the Nuggets are just sitting there, guys probably just watching the TV, having their popcorn, chilling and all and stuff like that. And like, oh, man, trying to find them.
They have like a whole week off, does Denver. Well, they have had, a couple of days off, honestly, since they last played. So almost a full week off. But, there's one thing I remember Charles Barkley saying in the postgame show or inside the NBA, I should say. Boston's Game 7 is Game 6. Or Game 6 is Game 7. And I'm like, oh, okay, I see what you mean. I never really heard anybody say it like that before.
To be fair, James, we've been in Game 7s from 3-0 down now. So I think at this point in time, the players are just like, we're going to be playing like it's Game 7s the rest of the way. And if we do that, then fuck it. We might get in.
Yeah, that Chuck always says something where you have to really think about it at first. So it's like, okay, that's what you meant. So, but yeah, I feel like every time. Oh, okay. Also on that show too, they always ask, the panel. They say, "Is this a must-win?" Well, in my mind, I'm always thinking every game in the playoffs is a must-win. So I'm like really sick of that question when people ask that in any postseason. I don't care what it is, NHL, NBA, of course NFL, but MLB is like I always heard the term or the quote, growing up where they said, "Oh, well, they'll just win it at home. That's why they're losing on the road." Well, Miami is in this thing right now where hey. They could have took care of business in Game 4 and just got it over with. Denver can screw around.
Game 4, they were up 9. They could have essentially. There was a stretch in Game 4 that I'm like, oh boy, here we go again. And I'm just like, Grant Williams had some big threes. Al Horford kind of kept it, and I still remember that broadcast. Who's with Kevin Harlan again?
Reggie Miller and Stan Van Gundy.
Reggie Miller. So I was watching the game. They were down like 5 and 6. And they're just like, they're letting the Celtics hang around. They're letting the Celtics hang around. And then the Celtics started to get some steals. They started to hit some threes. I'm like, wait, are we starting to feel it now? Is something happening? And then I'm just like, here we go. All right, we're in this. Oh, maybe not. But then after tonight, I'm like, we're in this, guys. All right, we not only could win this, but I'm not going to say the rest from here. That's all I'm going to say. I'll kind of stay from here and move on to the next game.
So Denver didn't screw around in Game 4. They went right after the Lakers, thank God, and hung on and won.
Say, how are you feeling, by the way? Over in Cancun.
uh,
Sorry,
I
man.
mean,
You're cool, man. I love you.
it's a refreshment not having what's his name in the finals again. So I could say that
LeBron.
that's a great thing. Yeah.
He's contemplating retirement while we're still in the playoffs, even though the Laker fans were like, yeah, you'll get swept too. How are y'all feeling now? We're still in this right now.
I kept seeing that all over my Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that. Like Laker fans saying, well, you guys are going down with us. And
yeah. They're probably
or,
back right now.
So, yeah, I credit the Celtics. They turned the series around. Miami, this is, again, just like last week, what I said about Boston, they have to go into the hearts of people, into the minds of people. They don't, like, I remember Hubie Brown a long time ago when he was a coach of the Knicks, like 30 years ago in the playoffs. They were facing Boston. This was like 84. Yeah, 84. Almost 40 years ago. After they were trailing 2-0, headed back to New York. I think it was the semifinals, I want to say. But Hubie Brown was the coach of the Knicks at the time, and they had the practice, morning practice at whatever college before they had big training facilities, great stuff like that. Right. He told the Knicks players, hey, don't touch your ball. We're just going to talk. We're going to get into the hearts of people, the souls of people's bodies, the hearts of people's bodies, the mind. And they came out with a great mindset to at least give the Celtics a 7-game series. Of course, Boston went on to beat LA in 84 in 6 games, I think. 7 games, I think. But I told you guys the Celtics had to do that. Now Miami has to do that for the next 2 games. They have to figure out, or 1 game or 2 games, they have to figure out who are we, what happened. We're so lost right now, deer in the headlights. Who's going to step up? I know Jimmy Butler, he's going to be that guy to say something, but will he find his way again to be playoff Jimmy Butler? And then Bam Adebayo, he's got to be tough again. He wasn't that tonight. And I think making that switch with Robert Williams mostly in the game, he caught a great alley-oop, by the way, to Derek White off of a loose ball.
That was nice.
So it's just amazing how this series has flipped. And, I think the Celtics are going to win the series. I really do.
James, just don't pull it off. Don't give me too much hope. I'm just hoping for Game 6, but I appreciate the comments. We do have a couple comments here. Christy, how are you doing? As well as I'm surprised by the Celtics victory. Well, Christy, I'm surprised the Celtics are still playing. So I thought after game 3, we were dead. Being down 3-0, you just feel like you just head going to summer and ready for next year. But the Celtics had different plans, and I like these different plans right now because I want to see more Celtics basketball, and I want to see a Game 6 where the Celtics have been playing like they've been playing the last couple games here, especially like the game tonight, James. So without further ado, let's go to our Game 6 keys to the game. Like I said, James, we're only going to do tonight's Celtics post game just because, like I said, I've been feeling okay, but not as great the last couple of days here. I've been feeling kind of achy as the last couple of days, so I'm trying to still lay it low. I'm trying to even get myself back to work tomorrow, so we'll see how things go from there. And obviously we'll kind of do the rest of the content and all that stuff, and probably on Sunday or Saturday. We'll probably we'll talk either if they have a Game 7 on Monday on Sunday, or talk about the whole series as a whole. And congratulations to the Heat, because I think specifically right now, James, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I feel like Miami is going to bounce back in Game 6. I just feel like, like we took 2 there. I just don't know specifically with the way I have to bring up 3-0, and the Celtics still have another one in them to do this. That's the only thing, because I was hopeful. I was, after Game 4, but I'm like, they've had a hard time with coming back, and facing adversity. But they did it tonight. They played their best game in front of their home fans tonight. And if that was the last game for the season in their home fans, which I hope it's not, at least the Celtics fans can at least be hopeful and, be happy, even though disappointed at the end of the day, because at least you're fighting, right? You're not going down without a fight. So, keys of the game, James, for the Celtics in game 6, as we now head to Saturday night. The Celtics and Heat. The job is not finished, as the great Kobe said. There's still a lot of series left. The Celtics know it now. Miami definitely knows it now. So, James, where do you think the keys of the game for both of these teams? I'll start, obviously, with the Miami Heat because they're the team that's up at the
moment. Jimmy Butler's going to have to be playoff Butler. Miami is 6-1 at home this year in the playoffs. The one, of course, coming in game 4. We'll see about Vincent. Obviously, he must have been a big piece. We'll see about his availability. I know Tyler Hero was out there just shooting, but that got people thinking, oh, is he coming back tonight? No, he was just out there.
He said that he might not be back the whole rest of the season.
Right, and that's what I think will happen. When you have broken fingers like that, you can't come back like that at all.
Yeah. I mean, I think he just started shooting righty tonight. So, I mean, if he's just starting it, no way.
Yeah, nowhere near playing. I read something today, about Jimmy Butler was screaming to Kyle Lowry to be more aggressive when Butler gives up the ball. So with Gabe Vincent out, Lowry has to be that guy he was in Toronto, but it's hard to take that back. But Strauss has to do better. The 3-point shooting just has to be better for Miami. So I would do that if I was Miami. I'm shooting threes. I'm hoping Bama Adebayo gets tougher and able to offensive rebound those 3-point misses that you saw tonight. Martin and Robinson just continue to do what they're doing.
They've been playing great. Martin's been absolutely killing us.
So if those guys can continue to put up their point averages or more, they should be fine. But it's all up to Butler and Adebayo, and then get whatever you can from Lowry, and then Max Strauss just has to hit his 3-pointers. All those undrafted, those 4 undrafted 3-point shooters, they just got to hit their threes, and I think they'll be able to win game 6. That's a key for me, is to get tougher. Oh, I remember last week again, speaking about Pat Riley in the playoff series, he told the Lakers, stay tough. That's what it's all about. It seems like I'm repeating myself, but the series has switched. Miami's just got to find their identity again and then hit their threes. That's my keys for Miami.
My keys to the Miami Heat are play worse than the Celtics. No, I'm just kidding. I hope. But I think, in all jokes aside, I think if the Heat are going to win this series, they just got to play it like the way they played in Game 3. Essentially, make a statement early, get a lot of their guys involved. I think Jimmy Butler has been playing scared the last couple of games, which I think is a very good sign for the Celtics, because I think, being up 3-0, he was able to just kind of play his game, play loose. And now he's just like, oh, now I have to kind of be hero ball. Now I'm trying to feel like I have to do too much. And I think Jimmy's looking at this now and just like, he's saying the right things. Tonight, after tonight's game, is like, we're going to win game 6. We're going to try to close these guys out, because I think now the Heat players, this is where, James, it gets fun and interesting, because now since it's a series, now they feel like the pressure is, we got to do this tonight. We don't, or Saturday. We don't want to go back to Boston. Game 7, which, by the way, is Monday, James. It's a holiday. It's Memorial Day.
Memorial Day, yeah.
So people are going to be absolutely crazy. I think Game 7 against Philly was a big day. I don't know what is in Boston, but maybe it was. I'm not sure. But I just know for a fact it could be potentially, if the Celtics got to a Game 7, James, think about this. They're down 3-0 in this series. It could be potentially the loudest it might ever be in TD Garden. And I'm not exaggerating that, but there's rarely any chance, really any hope really being down from 3-0 in a series, especially in an Eastern Conference Finals, and to potentially get to there. But obviously, Tom will tell about that. For the Heat, and they just want to say, listen, let's not go to Boston. Let's finish this, and let's become Eastern Conference champs and play against the Nuggets. Jimmy Butler has to come up massive. And that's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting him to have like a 40-burger on us. I just hope that their 3-point shooters just don't get back up and hot, because that's the biggest thing. That's what was killing us a lot in the early part of the series, was the guys from the Miami Heat were just killing us left and right. But now with the Celtics defense, they're starting to pick it up. So that at least gives me confidence. Sometimes, if the Heat players just don't make a lot of their threes in game 6, but they're making them, the defense is playing great, just tip your cap. Just tip your cap. So it's really the terms of Bam and Adebayo and Jimmy. If Jimmy Butler and Bam, we held them to at least 23, 25 max, I would say, I think we're in decent shape. But if, Jimmy goes for like a 45 burger and he completely terrorizes us in the second half and the next game, we're probably going back from Miami back to Boston and getting ready for our overall season-ending presser probably the next couple of days, which I hope not the case. I hope we go back to Boston so we're playing meaningful basketball come Monday. In terms of the Celtics, James, Game 6, it's all about momentum. They found a way to get Game 4. They found a way to get Game 5. Now, keep on the pedal to the metal. You have done nothing yet, and the job is far from over. You're still down in this series, so you got to find a way. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they only had 21 points tonight. I think specifically Jaylen Brown probably his best game tonight, even though he had 21, but over his best game in tonight's series. I thought before then he was kind of overall up and down, stagnant. Even that first 3 that he had tonight was an air ball. So, but then after that, he made a wide open 3. I feel like personally he were just kind of letting him shoot that 3 open because they didn't feel like his shot was going down. They just felt like it was kind of broken off, but he made that one, and then the Heat started kind of feeling, oh boy, we have to kind of guard Jaylen now. But to get still the guys, the role players for the Celtics still involved. Get them in scoring because Game 6, it's in Miami. The Miami Heat players are going to have role players scoring. The Celtics have to do the same way. Grant Williams, Marcus Smart, Derek White, Al Horford. They're going to have to find ways. It can't be just Jaylen. I think specifically Miami wins specifically if it's only Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I think specifically if the Celtics players can get really good defense like tonight's game, they could hold Jimmy within a 25-point reach, maybe Bam like under 20 points, and kind of let the others kind of do their thing. I think we could do it. I really think we can do it because I think specifically the defense is going to start to figure things out. Joe definitely has done a lot better with the timeout usage. But really the keys to the game, James, is just to get to a fast start because the Miami overall team is going to try to have the first punch in the game. And the last couple of games here, Miami obviously had the first punch Game 4. The Celtics were able to come back, but you have to be able to set the tone because if you set the tone in Game 6 after the last couple of games here, Miami's just looking at each other like, what in the world is going on? Like, right? Because they're looking at this like, oh, we got to really play now. We got to really play to find a way to pull this out because I feel like, at times when you're up 3-0, you kind of sit back and play, oh, it might just not be an off night. It might not be our game. Game 5 turns around. You're kind of looking at each other like, oh, pointing fingers now. Oh, Vincent's hurt. There's no excuses. People get hurt all the time. Malcolm Brogdon's hurt for us. He was a 6th man for us this whole entire season. I don't want to hear excuses from the Heat. I don't want to hear it. So this series could still go either way now, James. Like I said, the Celtics have now been at a 3-2 deficit. It's a lot more doable than when they were down 3-0, for sure, definitely. But they definitely had overall ways to come back down 3-2 and come back and win this. So in terms of my overall confidence, I think Miami takes it in Game 6. I just don't want to – I hope I'm just wrong about this. I knock on wood. But it's really hard to pull 3 straight the way that they've been playing. I think Miami's defense, if they get Vincent back too, I just don't feel confident, but I hope they prove me wrong because I said that after Game 3. I hope they prove me wrong. In Game 4, they found a way. Coming into tonight, I hope they prove me wrong because they've been bad at home. They did it in Game 5. So one thing and one thing only, James, my good luck, I've had to actually change my shirt a couple times. So I actually wore my Kyrie Irving jersey at Game 4, which, I never really wear Kyrie Irving stuff anymore, but it turned out to get a win for me. And then I went to my Jason Tatum shirt. But now, Game 6, time will tell in terms of what happens there. What do I change it to? Do I change it to another shirt? Probably will happen. Kind of keep the if don't break, don't fix type of mentality. So that's my keys to the game for Game 6 coming on Saturday.
Before I get to mine, it's great that you mentioned uniforms or shirts or whatever the case is. So Boston has worn, the ones that you have in the background here for Game 4 and Game 5. Mm-hmm. Remember, they wore the black uniforms on Game 3 and then the whites Game 1 and 2. They lost the first 3. So maybe as long as they keep these uniforms,
yeah,
wear it both times, they'll win the series. I remember Game 7, they wore these uniforms against Philadelphia. So if you believe in any of that suspicion,
keep it going. Anything we need at this point, we got to keep it going.
And then you mentioned like a big holiday in Boston or something. You mentioned Memorial Day for Monday if we get there. I remember Patriots Day, I think, was Game 1 between the Hawks and the Celtics. That's all I can remember.
Bruins and Panthers Game 1 was Memorial.
Oh, okay.
Patriots Day, yeah.
Okay.
Which that series, it feels like a blur from now. It still pains me. I never want to talk about it.
Right.
But if the Celtics were able to pull off the improbable, James, I think it would definitely put a lot of the sour taste out of my Bruins for sure after this, because I think
that's what I was wondering. That would make up for it.
I still think it will. I will not get over it, but it's another story for another day.
Yeah, I think Boston just has to continue what they're doing these 2 games. It looks like they found something. They're more aggressive. They're playing better as a team. Remember Game 3, it just seems like, Tatum was out of sync with others, Al Horford, and it just seemed like a lot of the Celtic players kept arguing with the referees about every call, and then they didn't work well together. It's just funny how things have changed. So as long as they don't go back to that, that's a key for Boston. And then again, hitting their 3-pointers with Smart, and he was getting great open looks early. So I do agree with you. In the corner, he was getting good looks, but I'm hoping that again, you get off to a good start, like you mentioned. I agree with you there. And then you just continue the pressure on the ball, whether it's on Jimmy Butler, you come off of a screen, force him to make a bad pass, whomever it is, Lowry, whatever it is. As long as they keep that on-ball screen defense going, they should handle the Miami Heat well. And then get tough against Bam Adebayo. Continue to do that with Robert Williams. I remember there was talk after Game 1, well, should Boston make a switch and have Robert Williams in there? And they've done that sparingly here and there with Williams getting not more of the minutes, but important minutes when Bam is out. But maybe you have to put him on him since he's there. But the fact that Kevin Love is now playing, I think you could take advantage of that. And I think Boston has. Well, he's not as good defensively anymore.
His offense is very more on the limited side than usual, too.
Right,
He could be built. He could still have like a 15 to 17 point of shot. But if you look at the overall threats that they have, if you ask me, Kevin Love is going to beat this team, I would live with it, right? I'm not going to live, obviously, with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo beating us because they're the best players.
It's amazing to think, too, both teams have injury issues, one each, right? Yep. Hero ain't playing, but with Brogdon, again, I think a key would for him to be a decoy. That's all I could think of. If he's going to want to play, there's no doubt, but I think he would have to be a decoy if he can't really shoot the ball well. And then Grant Williams continue to be a pest, and if you don't score as much, at least you can do something else. Rebound, steals, draw, charges. These things that Miami aren't really doing right now the last couple of games. Grant Williams and Smart are doing. And then Derek White, he just has to continue to do what he's doing defensively. And then with the big guns, Brown and Tatum, have them go off the next 2 games. And if they're not feeling it, then Marcus Smart would have to do his thing. So you rely on Smart and Brown, or Tatum and Brown to be the leading scorers. And if Tatum has to do it where he has to put up 40, 50 points, 30 points, whatever the case is, have him do it. But when he's doubled or when someone's open in the corner like Smart or Brown on the arc, then, hey, get it to him. So that's one of the keys, too. Get off to a great start. Play the same defense, force turnovers. But it's tougher on the road, I guess, to force turnovers. But if a team is defeated, maybe like Miami is, and we saw that kind of in Game 3, where it's great you mentioned that with Reggie Miller saying they let Miami let Boston continue to stay in the game. Well, they just have to continue to do that because Miami, if they're not lost, they're going to play tougher. They're going to play harder. You just have to match that intensity if you're Boston. So the keys are, hit your 3-point shooting, stay tough, get to loose balls, draw charges, try to get Jimmy and Bam in foul trouble. I think that would really help if Gabe Vincent isn't playing. All they have is their 3-point shooters when you think about it. They don't have anyone who can penetrate when you really think about it. Hero was that guy that could penetrate and shoot the 3-pointer. He could be that 3-point specialist and then drive for the basket, triple threat. He's not there. So I think another key, get Bam and Jimmy in foul trouble. I mean, really try to draw some charges. I think that would be very key into controlling the game and the pace of the game. Boston, you've seen with the pace of the game, has done way better. It was Miami's pace of the game, but now Boston, it seems like they're running more. They're getting freer baskets. So I say, hey, try to continue that. I know it's tougher on the road, but try to do that right away and frustrate Miami. So that's my keys for Boston to win Game 6.
Definitely so, James. We'll obviously have to find out specifically. But we're almost to the hour mark here on the Celtics post-game show for Game 5. This is your host, Ben Cruz, alongside James. James, before we get going, just want to say that we will probably have another show, full-on Kicking with Cruz episode on Sunday night. Like I said, we'll probably do a full-on series breakdown of this series as a whole. We'll either talk about Game 7 on Monday, we'll preview that, or obviously we'll do the post-game for Game 6 as a whole. We'll either talk about it. Good news, bad news, we'll still have it, and as well as the other stuff as well too. We even talk about the Angels sweeping the Sox, and we'll obviously talk about other stuff. We'll talk about others. We'll talk about other stuff as well. Obviously the Stanley Cup is getting closer, and the Panthers are officially Stanley Cup bound, which is crazy to think. That was absolutely insane. The Stars are able to hold off elimination from Vegas tonight. So there's a lot we can get into outside tonight's series. But with that being said, Joe James, like I said, final score is Celtics. Let's see. I just want to make sure the final was tonight. 110-97. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, each 21 points. Really quickly on the rest of the team. Jaylen, Jason, 21. Allen at 6. Derek White was one key start, 24. Marcus, 23 in 30 minutes. Grant and Rob each chipped in with 6. Malcolm Brogdon left the game with an injury. Time will tell about that. And then for Miami, they all were under 20 points tonight. Jimmy Butler with only 14. Bam Adebayo with 16. Kyle Lowry had 5. Strus with 3. Love with 6. Haywood Highsmith actually did some really good things for them. So I think that they definitely should keep playing him because he was like, I was looking at him like, oh, what's going on there? Looked like he has some potential ability as well. I remember him too. I remember he still fits too because, he doesn't really play a lot because obviously they have Vincent. But if Vincent's out for potentially a Game 6, I would not be surprised if Highsmith's got some more minutes because he looked really impressive tonight. But with that being said, though, James, Game 5 is over. Game 6, we're moving on to Miami. We will have the post game and everything broken down by the end of this weekend, so tune in for that. Now, James, I'll get to you. Final thoughts.
Great show. I'm happy there's more basketball. There's a long way before we get to Game 1. June 1st is next Thursday. So there's a long way to go. And I'm hoping, there's 2 games. And whatever happens, happens. Of course, there's a lot of Celtic fans I know, a few Miami fans I know, but more Celtic fans. And
you're just kind of neutral. You're just kind of watching it the way it is. So you're kind of in a win-win. I'm more of are we really doing this?
Yeah. It'd be awesome. I know to hang number 18 up and feel good about that. but yeah, business on Saturday, and then hopefully get to Monday, and then the impossible will happen. And I can't wait for that possibility if it comes up. Just the history on that, and the fact that I'll have one more inside the NBA or the pregame show tip off with the TNT guys. I'm like, dude, after game 3, I was like, oh crap, it's gonna be over in game 4, and no more, Ernie, Kenny, Chuck, and Charles.
It's a really good show they do. I really like it.
Shaq. So yeah, I'm just grateful that there's another show of that. Hopefully, another one where business will be handled. So yeah, thank you for having me on, and I'm hoping the best for you. And boss and the Celtics, and man, I'm not even going to the Angel. I think I had tickets for Saturday's Angel game, but I'm like, no way. I'm not missing the Celtic game. There's no way. It's at the same time, or almost at the same time. There's no way.
Just have like 4 or 5 more months of baseball. You should be okay. The Celtics might only have one more day left of their season, so I appreciate it if you're able to maybe get out of the Angel game to sacrifice my overall Celtics. It's up to you, James. I'm not gonna judge if you don't or not, but no, I appreciate it, my guy. I appreciate you coming on as usual, and yeah, obviously take it one game at a time. Crazy things have happened, obviously, being down 3-0. The fact that I'm still here talking Celtics with you and not talking about Joe Mazzulla have to be fired. Do we have to break up the Jays right now? I'd rather not be talking about that, and I'd rather be talking about Celtics basketball and obviously being back in terms of the stuff I love. So obviously, good show tonight as usual. Like I said, we'll have more stuff, more content coming to you guys on Sunday night. We have Isaiah, our co-host, that's over in Hawaii right now. Hopefully the Celtics don't follow him suit by the time he comes back. I hope that's not the case. And hopefully, specifically, if the Celtics do come back, I'll have some choice words to tell Isaiah, but I don't want to obviously go too far yet because I want to stay home as much as I can. But with that being said, guys, thank you guys for joining as usual. As the Celtics are moving on to a Game 6, we will have all the stuff ready for you guys coming this weekend. But for now, thanks again, and have a great rest of your evening. Take care. I was still thinking about what Isaiah said.
I was just going to say, hey, is it time for me to curse yet?
I still remember and I'll actually take us off really quick from there. Thanks, guys, once again.